तव कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहं श्रवणमङ्गलं श्रीमदाततं भुवि गृह्णन्ति ते भूरिता जनाः. O Lord, your words, like sweet nectar, refresh the afflicted. Your words, which poets have sung in verses, vanquish the sins of the worldly. Blessed are they who hear of you, and blessed indeed are they who speak of you. How great is their reward. Today we are reading the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, chapter 16, December 14, 1883. At 9 o'clock in the morning, Sri Ramakrishna was standing on the southeast veranda near the door of his room, with Ramlal by his side. Rakhal and Latu were moving about. Yam arrived and prostrated himself before the master. Sri Ramakrishna said to him affectionately, "You have come. That's very good. Today is an auspicious day." It was the last day of the Bengali month and the day of the full moon. Yam was going to spend a few days with the master, practicing spiritual disciplines. The master had said to him, if an aspirant practices a little spiritual discipline, then someone comes forward to help him. So Yam had come to stay with Sri Ramakrishna on 14th December. So he stayed there 23 days, devoting his time to the practice of spiritual disciplines till the 5th of January 1884. So he was in the blessed company of Sri Ramakrishna, the incarnation of this age, and also his Guru. Then the company of the holy Ganges and the holy atmosphere of the Kali temple. So he spent there day and night in engaging himself in spiritual practices. And Sri Ramakrishna watched over his spiritual progress. And later, a few days later, his entry says, when Sri Ramakrishna was going to the Calcutta, Yam asked, "Sir, can I come with you to Calcutta?" So Sri Ramakrishna asked, "Why? Why do you want to go to Calcutta now?" "I just want to go to house to see how they are." Sri Ramakrishna thought for a minute and said, "No, there is no need." So he is looking after the tender plant of Yam's spirituality and trying to help it grow, removing any obstacle that can come. If going home at that time, his spiritual mode will be distracted. So Sri Ramakrishna didn't want him. Then after, we can see on 5th January, on the 23rd day, when M was saluting him, Sri Ramakrishna said, "Now you have understood." M said, "A little." Then Sri Ramakrishna said, "No, you have understood quite a bit. Now you go home and live at home with your family." So this is the first day of his stay there. The master had said to him, if a spiritual aspirant practices a little spiritual discipline, then someone comes forward to help him. That's a very important statement that Sri Ramakrishna has made, like a promise. If you are sincerely practicing your spiritual disciplines, then at a proper time, the Guru will come forward to help you. So here we see the need of the Guru in spiritual life and also the need for self-effort. You have to practice some spiritual disciplines first. First, take the first step, and then you start the journey. Then if you make mistakes, the Guru will come and guide you. And to benefit from the holy company of the holy person or the spiritual guide, You have, and the advice of the Guru, we have to have some preparation. So, first start, and earnestness and sincerity are needed. If you start with earnestness and sincerity, then the Guru will come and help you, guide you forward, hold you by the hand and take you forward. We can see this Sri Ramakrishna telling M on his fourth visit in February 1882. Sri Ramakrishna told him that he is going to Calcutta, and you come there. I'm going to Balaram's house. You come there. You will there. You can hear me singing devotional songs, because I wanted to know whether there will be more singing that evening. And Sri Ramakrishna said, no, you come to Calcutta to Balaram's house. So M said yes, and then he was going towards the gate of the Kali temple. Then he thought something, remembered something, and came back. So Sri Ramakrishna asked, why? What happened? Why did you come back? He said, oh, perhaps the house that you asked me to go may belong to a rich person and they may not allow me. Sri Ramakrishna replied, why do you think so? Just mention my name and somebody will take you to me. So that is the promise. Just mention my name. Somebody, if you are sincere, somebody will come forward and take you. And again, here on 9th December, the previous week, before he came to stay with Sri Ramakrishna told him twice, if the spiritual aspirant practices a little spiritual discipline, then someone will come forward to help him. If you start on the journey, then the Guru comes to help you, hold you by the hand when you meet with any obstacles. The master had said to M, you should not eat every day at the guest house of the Kali temple. The guest house is intended to supply free food to monks and destitute. Bring your own cook with you. M had accordingly done so. In the Kali temple, there is provision for meals, but it is meant for wandering monks and also poor people. That's why Sri Ramakrishna says, you should not eat every day at the guest house. Once in a while you may have prasad there, but not every day. The guest house is intended to supply free food to monks and destitute. So bring your own cook and have your own meal cooked separately. M had accordingly done so. The master arranged a place for the man to cook, and he asked Ramlal to speak to the milkman about milk. See, Sri Ramakrishna is looking after everything. How he will eat, what he will eat, all the arrangements Sri Ramakrishna is making. After midday meal, Sri Ramakrishna lay down on his bed to rest. M was seated on the floor. Presently, Dr. Shyama and a few devotees arrived. The master sat up on the bed and began to converse with them. A devotee, sir, how should one live in the world? This is a common question that the devotees ask. How should one live in the world? M himself asked this question to Sri Ramakrishna on his second visit. How should one live in the world? So Sri Ramakrishna's reply was at that time, do all your duties, but keep your mind on God. Live with all, with wife, children, father, mother, and serve them. Treat them as if they were very dear to you, but know in your heart of hearts that they do not belong to you. That's how we are supposed to live in the world. A person, a family person, householder, how to live in the world. Live with the rest of the family members, with father, mother, wife, children, husband, and all the relatives. Look after them. Treat them as if they are your very own. That as if is very important there. Sri Ramakrishna is saying, as if they are very own. That means they are not your own. Treat them as if they are your very own. You love them very much. Of course, you love them, but don't have attachment. That's what he is saying, as if they are your very own. And then he gives the example of the maid servant in the rich man's house. The maid servant looks after the children of the master with great love, as though they are her own children, cares for them and calls them, oh my dear Hari, my dear Ram. But she knows that her children are in the village home, back in the village, and these are not her children. Any day the master asks her to leave, she has no difficulty leaving the children, though she loves them now. But when it is time to leave, she just walks off, no problem. So we are asked to live in the world like that. Treat all the rest of the members of the family as if they are your very own, but know in your heart of hearts that they are not yours. God alone is your very dear. And here Sri Ramakrishna says, live in the world as the mudfish lives in the mud. One develops love of God by going away from the world into solitude now and then and meditating on God. Like the mudfish. The mudfish lives in the mud, but the mud does not stick to it. So Sri Ramakrishna is asking us to live in the world like the mudfish, not attached to the world. And to get that attitude, one has to go into solitude and meditate on God now and then. Live life in the solitude is very important. To live in the solitude, go in solitude now and then and live there and pray to God is very important to go forward in spiritual life. Living in solitude gives us a chance to recognize our subtle desires, obstacles within the path, our spiritual path. And we get more, if you're in solitude, we get a better chance to analyze our mind. So this self-analysis helps us to recognize the subtle obstacles, the subtle impressions within our subconscious mind, and then we can try to remove them. All those deep-rooted habits of thought, you face them when you are living in solitude. In the midst of activity, in the midst of so many other people, we don't get a chance. Now with this lockdown here for the 2 months, people are finding that, yes, people are slowing down, not too much of rushing. Then we get a better chance to analyze our mind. What are the priorities? What is important for you? What is important in life? All these things, ideas come up in the mind when you are a bit slow in life. So that's what is happening now, we can say all over the world for the people. But for spiritual practice, even living at home, if you are all alone, it's no problem. But in the company of other people, of course, you can, Sri Ramakrishna says, in a corner of your house. You can have some time for yourself. That is solitude. Solitude does not mean you have to go to the forest or mountain cave. You can have solitude in your own house. You can have some time all for yourself, you and your chosen deity. That is, then your practice solitude there. All the mystics all over the world have spent time in solitude, because in solitude you meet, you come to see God in a quicker way. So Saint Teresa of Avila says, settle yourself in solitude and you will come upon God in yourself, because God is within us. It's not that you have to go somewhere to the forest or a mountain cave to find God. God is within us. But we are always looking outside, as the Katha Upanishad says, Paranjikani Vitranat Swayambhu. Tasmat Parang Pashyati Nandaratman. The senses have been created outward looking. So we always look outside. We don't look within. The Lord is within us. God is seated within us, in our heart. Antaratma is within our heart. Is the presiding deity within the heart. But we don't look within, so we don't see. In solitude, we turn our eyes, gaze inward, and then we are able to see God. And this solitude, Sri Ramakrishna says, you can find within your own heart or in a corner of your house. As we say, keep one room or a special place if you cannot afford to have a separate room, a corner in your house, one room, in your bedroom, a corner especially for that there you can find solitude. Or if you can afford to go away from your house for a retreat somewhere, that's very good. A day, 3 days, week, depending upon how much you have progressed and how much time you can afford to spend. But in the early days, they always say, don't spend too much time in solitude, because the mind won't be able to withstand the pressure. But in the company of your teacher, it's always helpful, because the guru is there to support you, help you. So live in the world as the mudfish live in the world, in the mud. One develops love of God by going away from the world into solitude now and then and meditating on God. After that, one can live in the world unattached. Sri Ramakrishna never asked his household disciples to give up everything and go away, becoming renunciate. No, he told them, develop love of God and then live in the world unattached. First, you have love of God, develop this divine love, and then if you live in the world, you won't be caught by the world, you won't be attached to the world. The example he gives is, you apply oil before you cut the jackfruit. Then the sticky sap won't stay in your hand. You can easily wash the hand away and make it clean. Like that, first attain this divine love of God, and then enter the world, live there. You can live in the world unattached, fixing your mind on God. The mud is there. The fish has to live in it, but his body is not stained by the mud. Such a man can lead the life of a householder in a spirit of detachment. We see several disciples of Sri Ramakrishna who lived this life. In Nagamahasya, M, Balaram, they all lived as householders. M actually asked Sri Ramakrishna's permission many times to renounce the world. Sri Ramakrishna said, no, you have to live in the world. And he trained him. Each has got his own part to play. Sri Ramakrishna said, no, you have to live in the world, because he has got his own part. He has to spread the teachings of Sri Ramakrishna, and it is because of him that we have got this great book, The Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. He noted it down, and later, after Sri Ramakrishna's, even when Sri Ramakrishna was sick, towards the end, he started writing from the diary. And another example of Sri Ramakrishna's disciple who lived unattached is Nagamahasya. Nagamahasya, Durgajaran Nag, he also wanted to renounce the world. Sri Ramakrishna said, no, You are a householder. Live as an example how to live a God-centered life. And that's what he did. He, though he wanted to spend the time now and then with the monks, he came, but he never stayed at night because Sri Ramakrishna said no. So he, even when later he came to Belur, he came in the daytime, spent the day, but now never at night. He had to go back home. That is Sri Ramakrishna's instructions. But they all showed how a householder can live in the world, completely depending on God and unattached to the world. The master noticed that M was listening to his words with great attention. The master looking at M. One can realize God if one feels intense dispassion for worldly things. A man with such dispassion feels that the world is like a forest on fire. If he really feels that kind of dispassion, he renounces home and family. It is not enough for him to live in the world in a spirit of detachment. So, a man can realize God if he feels intense dispassion for worldly things. When we need to cultivate intense dispassion to realize God. And this dispassion is not, it's not negative thing. It has got two aspects. Dispassion means non-attachment to the world and attachment to God. So dispassion for the world goes hand in hand with love for God. Swami Yatisharananda in the Meditation and Spiritual Life says, so for one who loves God sincerely, there is really speaking no giving up, but fulfillment. So when you say you have given up the world, it is not really giving up. Now you are not giving up anything. You are given up the little one for the greater one, the unimportant for the important, the lesser for the greater. So it's you are giving up the attachment to the world to have attachment to God. So that's why Swami says it's really speaking no giving up but fulfillment. Then he continues. Real love for God finds its expression in love of man in general, without loving any particular individuals. Real love of God finds its expression in love of man in general, loving everybody, without loving any particular individual. People often confuse detachment with indifference. If you are detached, then don't you care for other people? Yes, of course. You care for everybody, not just a few people. When we have got what we ordinarily say love, then our love is limited to a very few number. Mostly with whom we identify. Me and my friends, my family, my society. But when real love comes, when there is love for God, when there is real detachment, then there is love for everybody. That's why he says, real love of God finds its expression in love of man in general. People in general, you love everybody, the whole world. As the Sanskrit expression goes, Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam, the whole family, the whole world is my family. Without loving any particular individuals. That is real love of God. When that dispassion is intense, then that detachment has become intense, then the person does not wait to make arrangements for the family. He just leaves the home and completely spend the time thinking about God. So that's why Sri Ramakrishna says, a man with such dispassion feels that the world is like a forest on fire. You don't wait there. You for the fire to come to you, run away and escape. The world feels like a forest on fire, so he runs away from there. But that does not mean that the world will be his people or his family will be left in the lurch. God Himself will look after them. There is no fear because God has given the promise. Yogakshemam vahamyaham. I will carry whatever they need, whatever they lack, I'll provide. God Himself will make arrangements for the care of the dependents. So the person does not have to worry about that. If he really feels that kind of dispassion, he renounces home and family. It is not enough for him to live in the world in a spirit of detachment. Ordinary people, ordinary detachment, they live in the home, at home, looking after the family, at the same time, devoting to spiritual practices, keeping the mind on God. But if you have got intense dispassion, then that person feels the world, looks upon the world as a forest on fire. So you cannot remain there anymore and leaves the home and devotes completely 100% to God. Then Sri Ramakrishna continues.
It's saying it's not working. Keep going, just keep going on. See what I can see.
Sri Ramakrishna to the devotees. One cannot renounce by mere wish. There are prarabdha karma, inherited tendencies, and the like. Once a yogi said to the king, "Live with me in the forest and think of God." The king replied, "That I cannot very well do. I could live with you, but I still have the desire for enjoyment. If I live in the forest, perhaps I shall create a kingdom even there. I still have desires." So you cannot renounce by mere wish. That's Sri Ramakrishna saying. People often think that, oh, I would like to, you feel attracted by seeing a monk or a nun and feel that, oh, I would also like to give up the world and become a monastic. But you cannot renounce by mere wish. The desire for enjoyment are there. Even if you think that you don't have much desire, in the subconscious mind, there could be. So there has to be satiety with desire, Sri Ramakrishna says, satiety with enjoyment. Till then, you cannot, a person cannot renounce everything. Here the example Sri Ramakrishna gives. The yogi asked the king, "Come and live with me with me in the forest and think of God." The king's reply is, "I could live with you, but I still have desire for enjoyment." So what will happen? If I live in the forest with you, perhaps I shall create a kingdom there. To fulfill those desires, because he is a king, he will create a kingdom in the forest. The forest will be turned into another kingdom. But you enjoy, so that's why you had to have satiety with the enjoyment. Go through this enjoyment, and then you grow out of those desire for those enjoyments. You cannot force renunciation. Like if you pull out a green a branch from the tree, sometimes you can see the sap coming out. But if it is a dry branch, it falls off. Children play with toys. If you try to take the toy away from the child will start crying, screaming. But after some time, the child gets fed up with the play and throws the toy away, and then no more attraction for that particular toy. Or again, children, when they grow up, they get new interest and no longer attracted to the toys. So renunciation is like that. You grow out of this attraction for the world and turn the attraction towards God. And how to have this love for God? How do Sri Ramakrishna gives very easy methods. He is not asking us to do difficult austerities or anything. He gives very simple method to develop love of God. Repeat His name. Repeat His name because God and His name are inseparable. When you call on God, when you repeat His name, you are in the company of God. You are in the presence of God. But repeating that name should be with full concentration. You are where your thoughts are, where your mind is. If you are thinking of worldly things and at the same time just automatically or mechanically repeating the name, that is not being in the presence of God. But whatever you are doing physically, but if your mind is fixed on God and you're repeating the name of God mentally, then you are in the presence of God. And that's one of the easy things that Sri Ramakrishna has given us. Repeat the name of God day and night. And Holy Mother says, repeat the name of God just like the clock ticks on and on without any break. And that practice of japa or repetition of the name of God, if you cultivate, then after some time it becomes so habituated, the mind gets so habituated to that practice of the repetition of the name of God that the mind will automatically do it. Even in the sleep, they say the repetition of the mantra will be going on. Japa becomes ajapa japa. Even if whatever you are doing, and the part of the mind will be repeating the name of God. The master glanced at Yam and said, "One attains God when one feels yearning for Him. An intense restlessness is needed. Through it, the whole mind goes to God." So, how to see God? How can we see God? When we feel intense restlessness for God. When you feel that you need God, you want to see God. Nothing can satisfy you other than God. When that intense restlessness is there, then you can see God, Sri Ramakrishna says, like the restlessness of the child for its mother. The child wants to go to the mother. It screams, cries for the mother. People may go and try to distract the child with giving many things, toys, sweets, chocolates. No, the child wants and take any of those things. He'll go on crying, mother, mother, mom, mom. Until you take the child to the mother, it will go on screaming. That intense yearning for mother, when we have such yearning for God, then Sri Ramakrishna says we can see God. And he says, if you can combine the three yearnings, the child's yearning for mother, the husband's attraction for the chaste wife, and the miser's attraction for his worldly possession. If we can combine these three and turn to God, then we can realize God very easily. And the method he has given is repeating the name of God, holy company, and living in solitude now and then. These three, he says, with these we can attain God. Intense restlessness is needed. Through it, the whole mind goes to God. When you have intense restlessness for God, when you feel that you cannot spend another minute without seeing God, then we can see God. And as example he gives is the story he gives, Sri Ramakrishna gives is, a disciple asked the Guru, what sort of yearning should I have to see God? The Guru did not give any answer straight away. After some time, the teacher was going to take to the river to take his bath, and the disciple followed him. They got into the water, and suddenly the teacher pushed the disciple's head into the water and held him underwater. A minute or two later, he started struggling because he was becoming breathless. But the teacher did not let him go. After 2-3 minutes, when he was struggling so hard, then the Guru left and he got up. And then the disciples were so surprised. Why did he do this like this? Then the Guru asked, how did you feel when you were underwater? Oh, I was struggling for a breath of air. Then the teacher said, when you feel like that for God, then you can realize God. That is the yearning is needed to realize God. Often people ask, oh, we have been doing meditation and japa for few months, few years, but we haven't realized anything. We haven't seen God. So what's the point of doing all these things? Do we have this type of restlessness? Do we feel that we are going to die because we are not able to see God? When we have that type of restlessness, Sri Ramakrishna assures that we can see God. So let's pray to Him to give us His grace so that we may feel the desire to see God. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining the broadcast today. There's a few important announcements. I think all of you who are watching this morning must be knowing that we lost a very dear soul recently, the Reverend Prabhajika Ajayaprana Mataji, who was the Vice President of Sri Sharada Math and Ramakrishna Sharada Mission. And she was particularly special to us here in Sydney. She served here for 29 and a half years, establishing the first centre of Sri Sharada Math outside India, here in Sydney, Australia. We'll be having several special events this week in memory of Mataji. We will be emailing out all the information to you tomorrow, but I'll just inform you about it now as well. On Tuesday, the 26th of May from 11 a.m., we'll be having a special worship of Mataji, and that will be in the Sharada Math Nunnery here in Sydney, and it will be broadcast live on YouTube on the Vedanta Society channel. So you'll be welcome to just join the broadcast for that. Next Sunday, 31st of May from 11 a.m., we're having a memorial service for Mataji. And because we'll have several speakers from different parts of Australia, we will be doing it via Zoom, but we will broadcast live on YouTube as well. So for those who would like to participate as speakers, we encourage you, of course, to join us via Zoom. For those of you who don't wish to participate directly, you can watch on YouTube the whole event. Now, we do hope the IT side of things don't let us down. We are going to try our best to make sure it all runs smoothly. If something goes wrong, things start freezing on us, or any other number of things that could pop up, stick with us. We will then do our best to get back online and continue the broadcast. So if things start collapsing, please just stick around and we'll make sure we get it all up and running again. Also, midweek, we will be emailing out to all of you who are on our MailChimp list a special edition full of articles, an obituary, photos, video footage, whatever else we can quickly gather together now regarding Mataji, a special issue honoring Mataji. So keep a lookout for that. It should be coming out on Wednesday. Then our regular events continue. Next Friday night, we have the fortnightly spiritual discussion, and that's from 7:30 p.m. via Zoom. That's by invitation only. If you would like to be added to the list, please let us know. And also on Saturday, next Saturday, the 30th of May, we have the monthly book club meeting. That's from 5 p.m. That's also via Zoom. Once again, that's by invitation. If you'd like to be part of the book club group, please let us know. So once again, thank you for joining us this morning. And we do hope you can join in for the special events coming up in the coming week.